Hi and welcome to this tutorial of this long-haired miniature dachshund. This is part 2 in the time-lapse series of this tutorial. So this is a time-lapse of a much longer tutorial over on my Patreon channel where I do everything step by step in real time. So the brilliant thing about the reference image for this dachshund, as you can hopefully see on the left-hand side, the image that I'm copying from, is that the light was absolutely spectacular on this image. So there was this really gorgeous bright light on the left side, and then this really deep, beautiful shadow on the right side. So I got to really play with those tonal values and create those deep, dark shadows on this side to make this really, really pop. So I talk about it a lot in the real-time tutorial, but the basic thing that I think is quite important is that on that shadowed side, there isn't really much detail. So there's the sort of the illusion of lots of detail, but there isn't actually an awful lot of detail to capture. You've got that gorgeous sort of glint in the eye that looks like like an amber nugget. And that really pops because that is where the light is shining on it. But the actual fur itself, apart from at the top, the bit that I'm doing right now, where you've got that lovely blonde bit in there, the actual fur itself, you really can't see very much definition on, and that really helps to add to the realism because when something is in a deep dark shadow, you really can't see much of what's going on in that area. So when you're working on something like this, you want to sort of not be fooled into thinking that you need to put in loads of definition and loads of detail that isn't actually there, because actually sometimes less is more. And in this situation, less definitely was more because it added to how real this looks. So I'm just going in and doing the nose, and it's got that lovely sort of highlight on the left side. So I wanted to put that in to begin with. When you want those highlights to really, really pop, you need to put them in early on so that they stay vibrant throughout the piece. Because if you don't get that color in early on, no matter how much you try to sort of get back to it, even though you can layer light colors on top of dark with pastels, you can't really quite get back to that sort of vibrancy that you would get if you had that layer underneath to begin with. So you can see through doing that, it does really make that highlight pop. So I'm just going in now and I'm doing the area around the mouth. Now, I couldn't quite get all of the detail in because I needed to get the bit underneath in first to be able to get to that bit. But I'm getting in the basic details around the nose and sort of at the top of the mouth, just so we can sort of see what we're working with. I don't like it when areas look kind of unfinished. So it's nice to be able to get in as much detail as possible and then come back to it to finish it off once you've got the areas that sort of sits underneath it in. So then I got to work on the paw, and I was really excited about this paw because again, it's got the most beautiful light on it. And I really exaggerated the shadow tones that are in that sort of that shadow area, the really vibrant, lovely oranges that are being picked up on, because they really do make the light look absolutely spectacular, and I loved being able to put those oranges in. So they're maybe a tiny bit more vibrant than the photo, but they really did make this look spectacular. The light just looks wonderful on it. I've been so excited about sharing this one because the light is just so brilliant, and it's such a good way of learning how important those tonal values are. You know, if you put this into black and white, would it still look realistic? Yes, it definitely would, because you've got those brilliant highlights, you've got those brilliant shadows and the midtones, you've got everything sort of working together and playing nicely together so that you've got that real realism being created just by getting those tonal values right. The colors don't always have to be exactly 100%, but if you get those tonal values wrong, then things start to look quite flat and they don't sort of leap off of the page as much as you would like. So I'm just going in and I'm getting all those lovely details in on that paw. So you've got all these sort of flowy bits of hair hanging off the side. It's very, very soft. There's that lovely sort of shimmer, that shine to it. It just looks really, really pretty, really. And then I'm starting to map in sort of what's going on in the chest area here. So there's lots of things going on there. So there's lots of long overlapping bits of fur, and it's very much working out the best order in which to do this in. I opted to leave the golden part of the chest for part 3 of this because I thought it was better to get the bit on the left-hand side in first so that that gold can overlap, and then do the golden bits and then go in with the black afterwards. So we will tackle that in part 3. But for now, it was just going in, tidying up that ear because it now overlaps over this chest, and then starting to get in the direction of hair in this sort of chest fur and body as we go down through the dog. So as you can see, it's all very much about figuring out what sits at the back of the viewer's eye, what sits at the front, and then putting that in the layer in which you see it naturally as the person looking at this dog or this picture. So I hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to follow along in real time, please do check out my Patreon channel or subscribe here to see part 3 of the time lapse next week. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.